it's been an incredible amount of support for Kira. Talk
Absolutely.
about some of the people who have reached out.
Well, Kelly Slater, everybody knows, it's her hero, right? She got to meet Billie Eilish, who I guess was kind of an up-and-coming star when she met her, but now she's all over the place. She's had some, great support from her uncle, of course.
I noticed that Jim sent out a tweet, and I believe it was retweeted tens of thousands of times.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, just put into words how big this story has become.
I don't think you can put it into words. Actually, it's almost become like a movement of sorts.
They're calling it the Kira effect.
The Kira effect.
Yeah, it's people have come out of the woodworks, strangers that have become friends over the last couple of years that we've never even met in person. A lot of them due to the celebrity of some of the people that have been supportive, like Kelly and Billie Eilish and my uncle Jim Bieber, and we have grown our friendship base significantly over the years, and they've become very, very close, and they've shown not just passive interest, but super intense, intimate concern and care about Kira and our family, the rest of our family.
What was it about Kira that brought this out of people?
I think probably the biggest thing about Kira is just her authenticity and her willingness to share her experience, just unfiltered.
How rare is that for a teenager to say, I'm going to do this publicly?
I think especially in this disease, because it affects much younger kids. They don't necessarily have that voice to be able to explain what's going on emotionally, psychologically. They just know something hurts, right? And so with Kira, she's been able to put a voice to it and put words to it, and sort of express things in a way that a lot of others before her haven't been able to. I think that's what makes the difference between her and some of the other kids that have gone through this specific disease.
If you could be her voice, what do you think her message would be?
Right now, I think her message would be just love each other and experience life and don't be afraid. And I think she really, really just wants people to be happy. And she's done nothing but show that through her last messages and what she wants now as a final sort of physical farewell. Just be happy and love each other and appreciate everything: the sun, the sound of the water, the waves, the friendships.
Wow. I'm not sure if our viewers have heard about the
BTHP?
Yeah.
The brain tumor hall pass. She came up with that her first weekend in the hospital when she was diagnosed.
How many did she use?
Hall passes?
A few. We all use them.
She's been on a constant hall pass pretty much since the diagnosis.
I thought it'd be cute if you would just shout out like 3 that like she used, and you were kind of like, whoa.
Well, the first one you interviewed us was her dyeing her hair pink, and I was against it, and she went and did it anyway. It's like, hall pass, Dad, hall pass. So that was definitely one. I thought she did one recently too.
I read something about, did she get a tattattoo?
Oh, that's the other one.
Yeah, that's the 20 hall passes she used were the tattoos.
She's like,
that she
I want tattoos, and again, we were resistant, but she's like, hall pass. So she ended up with quite a few tattoos, actually.
And essentially, the hall pass idea wasn't necessarily to get away with things that you wouldn't normally. When we initially talked about it, it was because she had this pressure to be available to anyone who wanted to come visit, on all the time. And there were some days where she was just like, I just can't do it. And so that's when we said, listen, you have a hall pass. You can say at any time, it's time to go, or I can't do this anymore. I need some space. I need some quiet. And that's how it initiated, and then it became kind of a joke with her hair and her tattoos and everything.
Tell us about how strong she was.
She was a beast. She tolerated so many things from a physical nature, just with MRIs and IVs and chemo and radiation and the inability to get around the way that we normally would. but she just kept going, and she just had this energy in her that forced her to keep taking the next steps, and encourage us. I think that was one of the biggest things that where her strength showed through, was her ability to encourage everyone around her to be strong.
Even though she was going through all of this.
Even though she was going through it.
I mean, that's special.
Yeah, it's, she was headstrong. She was always headstrong. And I think even through this, she would set intention and she would go for it. And she didn't falter.
Can you share a little bit about Christmas Day and saying goodbye?
Sure.
That's hard.
And do you want to do that, or do you want?
I feel like I'm just going to cry if I say something right now.
So the day before Christmas, we were all in the hospital, and you know, obviously she was not doing great, and she wasn't super responsive. She'd wake up here and there.
Okay.
And then right about, I think, 10 o'clock on Christmas Eve, I looked at Robert and I said, "Is she going to do this on Christmas Day?" And
her style.
And he said, "Yeah." He said, "She might." And I said, "Well, that's just perfect."
How is that her style?
Well, just, I don't know, she owned that day, you know. She just wouldn't be any normal day.
She was she kind of trumped pretty much anything else that was going on, and but with grace and with humor.
I read in the paper that she was smiling.
She was smiling. Mm-hmm. She was. So
how does a 18-year-old girl do that?
How, you know, I think we were lucky. We didn't know necessarily what was about to happen, but in the moments just before she passed, we sort of set the atmosphere. We lit a candle in the hospital room, and we had this sort of disco ball glowing orb that is at my house that she's very familiar with, and just changes colors, and it's nice. And we dimmed the lights, and we put on Pink Floyd, and we covered her with essential oils, and we just laid there with her. And I think that's what made it the most sweet thing for us, and maybe for her. And we talked about a meditation that we had been talking about for the last few weeks, about going to your throne and whatever that looks like. And for her, what that looked like was a throne on the beach with waves and sand and happy people and flowers and sunshine. And so when we felt like it was that moment when she was leaving, we started describing
Talking about it
again. And when she took her final breath, we were both there on each side of her, and the song "Wish You Were Here" was playing. And I don't know if you know that song, but at the end of it, it just sort of fades out into the sort of breeze, and that's how it went. It was the most perfect, beautiful, surreal thing that we could have ever imagined. And we feel like she went peacefully and gave us permission to be peaceful with it. And we probably won't listen to that song ever again in the same way, but it was really perfect, unintentionally, intentionally, I guess.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Robert, I hate to ask you this, but I'm a father of 2 girls myself. How hard is this?
It's really hard. Extremely hard. There are moments where you feel okay with it because of who she was and how she lived, but she'll still be missed.
Just a few words about how brave she was.
She was super brave, even in death. I mean, she was preparing us for the last month. Looking back, we could tell, because she would talk about when I'm gone this, and even a day or so before she passed away, she said, "I'm excited to go."
She said that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, she
sign language.
Oh, that's right.
Because she couldn't speak.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just, it's kind of the same question as the first one, but, unfortunately, in 25 years of reporting, I've met parents who have lost kids because of disease, but it's extremely rare that a passing like this would affect hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. You must be very proud.
We are.
Yeah.
And I think that's, even when we were still in the room with her after she passed, one of the things that we talked about is how sad we were, but how insanely proud we were, not just of her, but just to be her parents. And one of the things that I've tried to make a comparison to is it's almost like being the parent of Jesus or Obama or something, where it's like you just kind of stand back and watch this essence that attracts so many people and so many positive vibes, and it was, and we were humbled to be her parents.
Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I would say, and I mentioned this on her GoFundMe, but I was also impressed by the fact that she was a very physical person, an athlete, a surfer, and she turned from that into an artist, poet, author. She's written a book which we haven't published yet, but it's, and so she just, adapted. And she shared that TED Talk with us. What would water do? Mm-hmm. Are you familiar with that?
I'm not.
So what would water do is just water doesn't resist anything. It just adapts based on the environment, and that was kind of what she was telling us. So.
That's beautiful.
It doesn't get angry. It doesn't get mad. It just adjusts.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both so much for sharing. Scott's going to get a couple shots of us talking, but
Right.
your daughter was just amazing in every way. I met her 2 or 3 times, and she had a significant impact on me and my daughters. And I'm just one of the many people who just will never forget who she was and what she stood for and how unique she was.
Yeah.
You're right, strong-spirited, clever, smart. Just
funny,
beautiful, funny. You just go on and on and on, and it's just rare that you could meet someone who was such an independent thinker and brave. And I'm stumbling through this, but I think you know exactly what I mean. Just
it's hard to describe her.
It was. It was.
Yeah.
It is. Huh.